For a day.
Okay, guys, I just want to remind everybody that all council meetings will be audio and video taped. They'll be shown on the Township of Ocean's Community Cable Channel, Channel 22 on Verizon Fios, and Channel 77 on Cablevision. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Napolitani?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Fisher?
Here.
Councilmember Sotero?
Here.
Kaplan?
Here.
Terry?
Here.
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied, and a copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster, posted in Town Hall, filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 14th, 2023. Let's start off with Greg, our township engineer, to go over our project update.
Okay.
Projects, I should say.
Projects, yeah. Okay. First one, 2022 road program, that's finished. Final assessments are complete. Jess and I are setting up meetings for September to go over with the residents. But that project is completed. They finished their punch list. 2023 is ongoing. You know, he started on the west side of town. He's going to be going on to Overhill, Faith, and Abbey Lane next. Doing the bike lane next week from Roller Rose Bike Lane. I did get asked by the police today when they're going to paint stripe the intersection that we fixed at Bound and Deal Road. Sergeant Martinez just wants that paint stripe before school starts, so we'll get that accomplished. Other than that,
That looks good, by the way.
yeah, it came out nice, didn't it?
Dave, I don't know if you got any calls from some of our neighbors when they were in the middle of construction, but they were like, "This is terrible." I'm like, they just literally
They
took it out.
yeah.
There's still work to do.
They kept hitting the curb.
Yeah.
It was always fun hitting that curve, but Greg, I think it's definitely an improvement as Dave and I are on it every day.
Yeah, it came out nice. Just makes it safer.
Yep.
2024 road program waiting authorization, I think for me to start, that's gonna be on your next meeting in September. So that's kinda, I'm still going at it, but it's on hold really. Next one, the bathrooms, we're waiting for the grants to come out in September for the CDBG awards.
Bathrooms?
That's for Kepler Park.
Oh, thank you.
Little Pond sidewalk, we had two crossings there. You remember the first one that we did is the smaller crossing on the southerly side of Whale Pond. The next one's a little further north, which is on the Poplar Brook. Where that's a larger one. We're gonna wait to do that one probably till next year when the funding's available. The first one, we did get our DEP permits for wetlands, but now because of the new flood hazard area things, which we went through on 1550 and Logan, they are now requiring us to do a flood hazard area permit for that sidewalk, which is 4 foot wide. And it's crazy. The money that it's gonna cost, it's like $2,000 in application fees just to get a 4 foot wide sidewalk across there, when we already paid about that much in the DEP permits for the wetlands. So it's just the next step that it's just never ending with them.
Margie.
Yeah. Okay, the next one, Fireman's Pond. Just to kind of give you an update, we've kind of prioritized the ponds. We got Fireman's going first, Lollipop Pond second, which we're expecting state funding for in September for the dredging and the bridge we want to build there. And the third one is Terrace Pond. I know we kind of started with Terrace Pond. It's been on my list of activities for probably 5 or 6 years now. But we have to wait until the DLA Commission finishes their upstream project at the mall, because that's going to slow the water down and cut down a lot of sediment that's coming to us. Because if we dredge Terrace Pond first and we did it this fall or next spring, we still have the erosion problem coming at us anytime we get these flash floods. So we're going to wait till they get done. It'll probably take them a year or so. But we've shifted. We're going to do Fireman's first. Talk to the county. David and the mayor have set up a meeting in the future with our known to get everything worked out, but we're looking to do that project in the spring.
The other thing that they require also, just so everybody's aware, they require Greg to design a catch basin where that water comes in, because, and it totally made sense when we listened to him, that we want to try to avoid this moving forward into the future, so that when we do these dredging projects, our Public Works Department can get on a schedule to clean out those catch basins before it gets into the actual pond. And as we stated, all three of those ponds are extremely important to the municipality, but going down the line, and I contacted Lois Kiley to explain to her that we're looking at potentially spring to get firemen's up and running, because that'll give Greg time to design the catch basin. It'll give us time to get the rock together that we need for the road to get in there and dredge it out. And also the county is waiting on their piece of equipment that'll come in and assist us, along with our public works that'll assist them in, with our street sweeper and trucks to haul out the spoils. Being involved with this for 30 years on the Deal Lake Commission 30 years ago, I know how difficult it is to get rid of the spoils. That's the biggest problem. And Greg, I mean, you can explain where the first set of spoils will go.
Yeah, for Fireman's Pond, we're gonna put them at the leaf compost facility. Because oddly enough, we got a directive from the DEP that we have to remove the berm around that facility because it's made out of compost material. And they want a inorganic material. I said, perfect, I have just the material for you. So we're gonna put almost, I'm pretty sure we can fit all of it there, which is,
And none of the sites,
Right now.
we don't have to worry about testing
we
that.
tested them all already.
Okay,
We're
All
here.
the ponds have been tested.
so it's all safe for that
Yeah.
material to go,
Yeah.
to stay in town? Okay.
Yeah, the only place we can't use it at is you can't put it in a park facility, like a playground where kids are playing with it. And the only thing bad in it, to be honest with you, is it's 100%, it's like 92% sand, all of them are. It
Okay.
ranges from 85 to 92% sand. So there's really nothing in it. The only thing in it is arsenic. And arsenic is naturally occurring in the world. And it really comes from the erosion of people's soil, of their properties. But the only reason it flags as a detected level is because the state lowered their standard from, I believe it was 9 parts per million to 3 parts per million. And all of ours are in the 6 to 7 range.
And this has nothing to do with the pesticides with the runoffs, correct? This is completely unrelated?
Right.
Just
This-
anticipating questions?
Yeah, no, this is all just naturally occurring.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that we're over the detection limit on. So that's why we can't put it in a park facility. We could put it in a parking lot and cover it, but this is just as good putting it at the compost site and just covering it with some dirt and putting some weeds on top of it.
Cool.
A quick question, 2 quick questions. One, so the catch basins, where would they go?
That's gonna go in, probably, I gotta look at it, that's why we haven't really, probably Lake Drive. It's just on the north-south part of the lake. That's where most of the drainage comes. I just have to see, there's an inlet on the north side of the lake that I have to see how much water goes into that, if it would be worth putting another sediment basin there. But I have to get into the topo there and figure out
Okay.
which one is the lowest one.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not a big deal. Really, the biggest problem is putting it on the list to maintain it. You know, because that's the type of thing that only holds so much volume. You don't maintain it on an annual basis. It's
Lose
going
it.
in the lake.
Right.
So-
And just, so we're moving forward with this because of the state funding? Like at one point, this was not gonna happen. What did I miss? What,
Fireman's Pond?
or
No,
any,
No, the only one that has state funding associated with is Lollipop Pond.
okay,
That one we haven't started all till the funding is, because I have to do, the
Right.
soil testing for that one hasn't been done yet.
Right.
We're waiting for the funding. The other 3, we have done the funding, and we were of the mind that the county was gonna help us and take the dirt at the landfill. They were not overly receptive. They allowed us to put it on our application, because we couldn't submit the application to the state until we had a definite location to put the spoils. So now that the county said you can put Fireman's and Terrace Pond on as a possible source for disposal. So that got us, so we can submit it to the
so
state.
that was what was delayed?
Right.
Okay.
That was what was delaying us.
And that was the meeting that we had in January with Arnone and the commissioners out in Freehold. Dave, myself, Greg went out there, and the meeting didn't really go as well as we thought, but then we had a follow-up meeting with Commissioner Director Arnone, John Tabia, and
Joe
Torre, and Dave, myself, Greg, and went over, and it sounds like they want to partner with us and help us out. So, you know, we welcome that with open arms, obviously, because it's I spoke to Lois Kiley yesterday, and it's been a problem there 5 years now. They've seen the islands grow in that pond there, and it doesn't look good, especially Wickapeco. It's very public.
It needs it.
Oh, we saw it.
Yeah, we all saw it. So, look, the fact that we have a plan in place and it looks like it's going to be taken care of is a major
Good news.
positive there.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so we kind of already went over Lollipop and Terrace Pond at the next 2. Snell's Pond is kind of on hold because we're waiting for the residents. We have 7 residents over there that will not respond, will not sign applications. We had one of the residents there, Eric Aguilar, who actually lives there, is one of the people on the list that had to sign. He did. He went around to the neighbors and talked to them. They told him they would submit it to us, and they haven't. So I'm going to send another round of letters out to them asking them to sign the application. But until they sign it, we are.
There's
dead
no
in the
time
water.
of the essence where it's like signed by here, or it's concurrence, you know,
Right, 'cause-
like
No, the
nothing like
problem-
that?
The problem with it is it's the application is for access to their property.
Oh, okay.
And if they don't give us access, we can't dredge the
can't do
pond,
it.
because it's their property, it goes to the middle of the pond. And really, the only reason we're involved, because we own 2 of the lots on the pond. Prior to that, we couldn't even do the project, so,
And how many do we need? Am I counting right? 8?
7.
So you have 1, you need 7 more.
No, we have probably 15 already.
Oh,
Yeah, there's like 22, I think, so
Okay.
we're missing 7.
And our equipment has to go onto their property? We can't access it in an alternate way?
No, the problem is it would be sawtooth, and, it would just bring disaster, really, to
Okay.
be honest with you. I couldn't even imagine trying to go weave around people who were not involved, because the pond is only like 40 feet wide. So to try to dredge something and not affect their property, which is from the middle over, would be impossible. And that's one thing I didn't look at, is to see where the 15 are. If they were around ours, technically you really want to dredge half the pond and leave the other half not dredged, that probably wouldn't do it.
But the
any
pond
benefit.
is not their property, so wouldn't that embankment be,
No, it's
it
their
is
property.
considered their
It's
property?
a private pond, yeah, it's
Okay.
kind of crazy, but it's, the properties go to the center line of the pond, so neighbors own the whole thing.
And they're not responsible for maintaining that?
They are.
Okay, so if they're not gonna help us maintain it,
See, what happened was this probably surfaced about 10 years ago, and we always had the problem with trying to dredge this. It was private property, and we can't be involved in something, spending money on private property.
right.
And then the Blue Acres program came along with the flooding, and 4 people decided to sell houses, and 2 of them are on the pond. And so now the town owns technically 4 lots over there, 2 on the pond. So the people who wanted the pond dredged, and we've always told them we couldn't because we don't own any part of it, all of a sudden jumped on the bandwagon and said, okay, now you own it, so now you can dredge it. And we followed through, and we were proceeding with that. If they would have all signed the paperwork, they would have been in the chart, in the schedule to dredge probably sometime spring or next fall.
Okay.
Because that's a smaller pond, obviously, and it would be easier to dispose of, but it's just, we can't move forward. And DEP won't even accept the application until we get all the property owners' approval.
Gotcha.
and,
What's-
okay, Giza.
I was just gonna say, what's their real objection to it?
Haven't talked to one of them. I mean, we sent them letters, I don't have phone numbers. The neighbor who lives there said he talked to all of them, they said they're in full support of it. And I gave him blank applications with their name on it to sign, and had where to sign it. And they said they would take it and send it back to me, and they never did. So I told him it was about a month ago, and I haven't heard back from him yet, to where, because he said he's gonna go around and talk to everybody again. But haven't heard from anybody, so I don't know if they aren't doing it because they just forget about it, or they're not doing it for a reason. I don't really know, because we haven't talked to anybody, they won't call me, so.
So back to the question of it being private, who's paying for it?
We haven't figured that out yet. Because originally, it was gonna be on the same fashion as these, the county was gonna help us.
All right,
And when we had that meeting in January and the county found out it was private, they said, nope, we're not working on a private project, we have too many problems with that. So they backed totally out of that, and we haven't even broached the subject further than that spot right there, because we don't have the 7 signatures. So when that comes back, we're gonna have to figure that out, whether it's an assessment or we get a grant from somebody or something, but.
okay.
Okay, next one's 1515 Logan, that's been submitted, we're just waiting for the flood hazard area permit. Bimbler, when we had that meeting a couple weeks ago, before the meeting started, the county engineer told me that they did not get their beautification grant for Asbury Avenue in Asbury, Asbury Avenue. And therefore that the light at the corner of, I don't know what it's called in Asbury, the extension of Wickapeco and Asbury Avenue is not on the docket to be improved, and
And they were so certain of that initially.
Yeah.
I remember when you
Yeah.
brought it up the first
Yeah.
time.
And Asbury, they've told me that Asbury Park has no intentions of improving that intersection to allow left turns there to take them off of Bibler. So it's we're back to square one with our problem now. So we have to brainstorm that and figure out how we want to get. I told the county engineer originally that I was just gonna make that a dead end.
Bembler?
Yeah.
What do you say?
Does that force it to that other street? What's that other street that's right next to it?
Well, you have Lincoln,
They'll come out on Lincoln then.
but they'd have to, but doing that seesaw there, they may not, most people aren't gonna wanna do the extra turn. And it would be pretty backed up in there, the way, the traffic would be. But, the county traffic engineer is not happy with the situation, because the traffic, if we push it all back to Asbury Avenue, the Asbury Avenue can't handle the traffic. I said, that's not my problem. You put it on my road, and my road can't handle it.
Mhm.
So it belongs on a county road. Everybody's going to Asbury, and they're cutting through a part of Ocean to get to Asbury from Asbury. So it's, so we're gonna have to figure out some kind of geometry change there that makes it very difficult for them to get through the neighborhood.
One way?
Well, we thought about that, but the problem is we have the emergency vehicles go down Bimler. That's why I really have not really pushed the idea of one way, because the fire trucks and ambulance, EMT all come down Bimler to get to the other side of town. And to make them do that little S-turn would be impossible. So somehow I gotta figure a way to get people, and actually, the county engineer said he would entertain an idea of no left turn at Bimler. That was part of the whole thing with the
Right.
lighted Wacopeka. But now that's off the table too, because that would obviously been our solution, no left turn there.
And we can't make that call?
Not our road. It's
But they're
Asbury.
turning onto ours.
Right. Well, that's what we said, we can make it one way, do not enter. That was one thing I suggested also to them. That may be where we end up, that'd be the easiest way.
That's an
Maybe-
If
easy
we did a
fix.
one-way do not enter, then they have no say in what we
Right.
do.
Right. Well, a little bit they do, but not much, because it is an intersection with their road. But yeah, I mean, hey, we're making this.
So in other words,
do not
one-way
enter.
do not enter really is a no left turn.
Yeah, the only thing we have to look at is there's a road, I don't know the name of it, further, just one to the west of Bimler, which is a pretty difficult turn because it's close to the circle. There's a blue house right in the
Yes.
corner. That is a left turn there. We probably would, the county would probably want to.
There's a professional building too,
Yeah,
right
right
there,
on the
right?
corner.
I just passed it.
Okay.
But there is a residential there, and everybody would turn there. They'd have to go up to Lincoln and come down that way, which I doubt they would do.
I don't know how you get in and out of that. That's sloppy up there.
But, yeah, but in crossing that at that point,
Yeah,
coming
you
to the
can't-
circle would be.
You
yeah,
cannot get out that way.
Dangerous.
It's nearly
That circle's a
impossible.
mess
Yeah,
anyway, my
it's-
God.
yeah, it's a total
I avoided
mess.
at all costs.
Greg, glad you didn't engineer that one.
Me too. No, when we met with the traffic people, I met with them in another meeting, and they were talking about they're doing that circle up in, on Route 66 by where Asbury Avenue and 66 split.
Mhm.
And I said, you guys gotta look at this one here. This one's a total failure. That one's gonna be worse.
Lifelong residents are like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
The
bad.
yields are different.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Five roads
it's,
coming together at one time.
it's bad.
But that do not enter might also fix the speeding issue. We
If
get
there
so
wouldn't be any
many.
traffic.
Right,
Yeah.
we get so many.
Right.
By default, there would be no cars.
Yeah.
So
Because
I guess that
everybody-
fixed the speeding problem.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, let's consider that.
Yeah.
I mean, more than one way
I'll
to skin a
talk
cat.
to the chief about it. We'll talk to the traffic safety people and see what they
Yeah,
think.
see what Elisa thinks.
And I gotta
She
talk to
handles
the
traffic,
fire
right?
guys and make, because I don't know, they could always come back from a fire in a different route, because, going out would be good. If they can't come back to it, I don't think that would hurt their feelings. They could go up 35 and take
Right.
Sunset from there.
Oh,
and
yeah,
back.
totally. They wouldn't
Yeah.
have to go through
Yeah.
Bimler for that.
Right. Okay, I'll talk to the chief.
Perfect.
Crosswalk on Sunset and Maple, that's gonna get done with the 23 program. I'm gonna try to escalate that so we get that done sooner than later. So maybe we'll be in for school. And the next one is, next one's kind of a dead issue. We applied for that grant with Senator Booker for security. We haven't heard anything about that at all, so nothing to discuss there. Deal Road Sidewalks project is complete. Got a couple punch list problems. These flash floods are killing me. We just got done fixing that road, so everything is soft, and we got that flash flood 2 weeks ago. Overtopped the top of the sidewalk by a little bit, and just eroded all the dirt we put on the backside of the sidewalk in 2 driveways. So we fixed it, and it did it again 2 days later. So I'm gonna probably have to put in a couple extra drainage inlets on there when we do that section of Deal Road, but I'll probably put the inlets in maybe if we have extra money in this year's road program, I'll put it in next year's to put some extra inlets so it stops overtopping the sidewalk there. It's really not a big drainage area, but there's only 2 inlets to take a section of Deal Road, and it just hits it so fast, because everything on the south side is a very large hill, and it comes down that hill and hits that road really quickly. So, but I'll address that with 2 inlets. We already talked about the Roller Road, it's a bike trail that's gonna be done next week. 18, there's really no discussion. We're waiting for the delineation of the wetlands to be done before we can move forward with the DEP, the new DPW facility on Cindy Lane. Creamer Court Bridge, contractor mobilized, and we had a problem instantly with the sewer authority. They have a sewer easement through there. They gave us permission to put the bridge up, and we were gonna be driving piles on both sides of it. they didn't tell us it was a transite pipe, which is a plastic pipe, versus we thought it was ductile iron pipe, which you can pound piles next to. So bottom line is we're gonna have 2 spans out there now. We're gonna have the span over the creek, we're gonna have a span over the sewage authority easement,
Span of,
the bridge. There's gonna be 2 bridges now,
Like 4 feet, like how wide are they?
20 feet. The span
Each
will
one
be
is
20.
20?
The
No,
span will be
20 over, but how wide
How wide?
is each?
You mean the bridge?
Yeah,
Oh, it's only 4 foot, 5 foot wide, it's a pedestrian bridge. And
but 2 of them now?
Yeah. You won't even notice if you're walking over this. If you look at the side of it, you'll just notice there's no piles in 2 spots, there's a 20-foot span. So from a visual, you'd only see it if you're in the creek bed, which you have no reason to be down there. From actually walking the bridge, you won't even notice. But it did slow us down a couple of days because we had to go, we're gonna end up putting helical piles on both sides of the sewer authority pipe, which is like, it's like a big screw. You just screw it in the
They're
ground instead of
awesome, I
piling.
just had to have them done.
Yeah, they're extremely strong too. So to hold up a
Expensive.
pedestrian bridge, no, they actually. it's
Mine
not-
was.
These aren't too big because they aren't holding any weight.
Yeah, no, mine's
But,
holding a deck.
But those we're getting worked out. We're just waiting for the contractor. We have that portion worked out. He's just trying to change the bridge span to make it a little cheaper. He's trying to come up with alternate material instead of steel because now the second span to get the steel is going to take too long.
So we put a change order in and it's been
Yeah,
approved?
I already talked to Mr. Sock and he has no problem with the change. We said estimated to be about $5,000. He said no problem. So, but he should get starting again next week as soon as we work out the details of the crossing, the design of the bridge. Okay, I met with a contractor. We're gonna get prices for the second phase of the stream cleaning. We picked Joe Play apart because we're also gonna start working on getting letters to residents from between Monmouth Road and Whale Pond. It's all private to clean that stream out. That's the piece we're missing on the Poplar Brook. We're gonna be in the middle of that in the next couple of weeks. We'll be sending letters out to get permission from them. But I'm getting prices in to do the next phase. We're gonna probably go from about Whale Pond just about to the back of the Route 35 shopping center, the old 35.
wow.
And we know that from there down is pretty clean because the developer cleaned that portion of the stream out. So that means with the 2 phases, we may be, other than missing the piece in the middle, will be from the railroad tracks all the way to 35, which would be pretty enormous for us. Because that was where poplars where most of our flooding occurs. You know, then we'll move to some of these offshoot streams we're gonna go through next, and then we'll move up to the
Great.
Whale Pond. So that's coming up, probably we'll be doing that over the winter. Ricky's already approved the funding for us, so we got the funding in place. I just gotta get 2 more quotes. Stream cleaning West Allenhurst. Yeah, we got another thing we're talking about is we got a lot of flooding happening over here in West Deal. It's the same thing. There's backyards between 2 roads between, I think it's Sherman and I forget the one to the south of it. But backyards, swale, all boogered up.
Parker's bad, Goff, all those
Yeah,
down near the
to
spot
the
we
west
went
of the
out.
intersection, which the pipe drainage comes through and discharges into that stream, the stream is backed up because it can't get out of the pipe, so it just shoots like a geyser out of the manhole in the intersection of Goff and Parker.
It's
So
amazing.
We're gonna get in
It's-
there.
It's amazing the way it
Yeah.
comes out.
It's probably like 4 foot high, it's pretty nasty. But we're gonna get in there and clean it out. We're also looking at a couple alternate things and temporary things. It's kind of a long-range plan, but the initial thing we're gonna do is we're gonna clean the stream cord out. We're looking at putting a secondary overflow pipe down one of the streets down to Washington. And then we have a meeting next week with Deal to talk to them about the crossing under the railroad tracks and improving the drainage from Eastern Ocean up through Deal, and then out they're gonna take it out to the ocean. Because they're having similar problems with their storm drainage backing up on Norwood. So we're gonna try to oversize their pipe so we accommodate us and get through. So everything's kind of coming together meeting-wise. Once we get behind it, then we have to go to some state people to try to get some funding and some momentum behind it.
Ties in with a positive meeting that we had with Transit last year to make sure we could even do this project, because that was Greg's biggest fear. He tried this 30 years ago, and they flat out told him no. But when we went back out last summer, they had a much different
New engineer.
Yeah.
They had a
So
younger
let's get it
engineer.
done now while he's there.
Yeah.
But
He was
it
pretty
was-
young, he'll be there a while.
Yeah, Greg was, we were gonna go down to look at the other one. Greg's like, I'm not even gonna bother. He said, this guy said this is good, so.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, then we just have to, get with Deal, and, and unfortunately with Deal, they lost their manager suddenly, and we were supposed to have the meeting with them the following week. Steve passed away suddenly, and they've been kind of in flux, but now we can't wait anymore for a new manager. We're gonna have the meeting with Deal, the mayor, with the acting manager, and see if we can get something, cooking here.
I think it kind of worked out good for us anyway, because the timing over there, they've got several residents that are now complaining to their
Yep.
mayor about the same problem we're having, so
Yep.
he's hot to trot for the same problem. So
Yep.
it kind of dovetails together.
Yeah, so I'm glad that, you're right, the timing did work out pretty good.
And that's all I have.
Great. Any questions for Greg? Start with Rob.
Any luck with our friends at the firehouse putting the light up on Poplar?
No, to be honest with you, they've been struggling so much to kind of get their own contractors moving. They're not even entertaining my questions about fixing the light until they're done. So it's just that they've been pretty slow going on that building. But I'll ask them again. Can't hurt.
We can't tell them?
No, it's because it's a bonded issue. I can't force when things are done on a bonded issue. They're bond. I can only make sure it gets done.
Got it.
But they won't get their bond back till it gets done.
Right.
But
No,
I can't tell them when to do it.
Got it.
Looks like they're making progress on the firehouse. though.
Yeah, once they got to the building, they get moved pretty fast. The site guy was, it's gonna come to a point, and it's probably gonna affect a lot of you people, mayor council, is I told them from the beginning, if they left their construction entrance off of Deal Road, they're gonna break our pavement, and they're gonna have to pave 100 feet each side of that. And guess what? They broke the pavement. So my deal is they're gonna have to pave from the intersection back 200 feet and repave curb to curb. I'm sure you were gonna be hearing about that, but those are our rules. If you break the pavement, they could easily use their construction entrance off of the back road, which is gonna be vacated in the future. They just didn't wanna make the left turn, go up Whale Pond, make a left turn up there. So but I've already told them once, and we'll tell them again, that, when they get closer to being done, but that's something I'm sure they're gonna complain to you guys about. That I'm a mean guy.
You broke the road.
Yeah, and the problem it truly is it's gonna be a problem for us in 5 years. It's gonna be a pothole along that curb there, and it's gonna hold water, it's gonna freeze, thaw, and continue to break, and we're gonna have to fix it.
Yeah,
So I'd rather have them pay to fix it.
agreed.
Anything else, Rob?
Nope, I'm good. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, South Lincoln and I don't know if that's Dave or you. South Lincoln and Norwood Light.
That's Dave. I don't know, I don't know the progress. I know that we.
Oh, no, oh, yeah, that's
the
still,
traffic light.
that's DOT.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're still waiting on
Yeah,
it. Got it.
waiting
Okay.
on that.
Okay. All right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, no, you weren't looking, I was pointing to you, like,
Alrighty.
No questions.
Dave?
Do we have a time frame on the Deal Road paving?
Yeah, we're gonna do that after summer, probably late September. We just want to get away from the summer flows.
Got it.
But it is a nighttime paving, so it'll be done in the summer, and we're gonna close the road and pave it one into the other. And Fernandez, they're pretty fast and they're good, so.
Yeah.
Just to follow, what part of Deal is he asking it? What that
From
you're answering?
Carberry all the way
The
down
other
to
side,
Bound.
okay. And we don't have the money, or did we get the money for the
Oh, no,
30?
that we don't.
No, not Carberry to Bound, you're
I'm
talking
talking,
right up here.
You're talking by the
the
Deal
section
35.
by Deal 35 to Logan.
That's
Right.
why,
Right lane.
that's why I asked,
Yeah,
okay.
that's gonna be paved in September. The
Got
other
it.
one, that's not even, the sidewalk was the only part of that program. We didn't get funding to do the
Oh, okay.
paving yet. That's
The road-
probably after we get done with Poplar Blast for that.
Yeah, the road looks like it could use a little.
Oh, yeah.
Little help.
Plus, the north and south of that intersection at Bound is pretty rough. We're actually
Yeah.
doing a part of Bound down at Green Grove Road by Tilton,
Mhm.
because it's the same thing, it's choppy. I'm doing pieces to save us
Yeah.
some longevity there. Because some of the road is in fine shape, other parts are bad, so we're just buying time. But yeah, the other side of Deal Road between Green Grove and Bound is really getting dicey.
Sure.
So I'm gonna try to get a TTF fund next year for that.
Yeah.
Can I have a turn again?
Gonna go around Kelly.
I do have a question.
Half a turn.
When are we getting close to putting the striping or the arrows so that they're correct on DL 35 to match the signage? No?
No, the signage and the striping is correct right now, they match.
Oh, they match,
It's
but
not
they're
the way we
wrong,
want it.
but it's not the
Yeah.
way we want it.
Not the way we want it. We have to wait until the developer, the bank, submits his application on the far side and DOT gets involved, then they'll give us permission to do what we want.
Gotcha.
They just want to do as part of
And
an
that's the
application.
two
They
straight?
just-
Yeah.
Two straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, two straight, one
And the right
straight
one will also
right,
be right.
Okay.
one left.
But I'm also asking the DOT, when the sign's going up, make the developer put the sign up that Road A is actually the jug handle to get to 35 north.
Right.
That'll alleviate the traffic that goes,
You have to get people used to doing that, because
Yeah.
even I don't do it.
And
I
it's
curse
a tough-
myself every
It's a tough
time.
way to go through there. There's just traffic in there, and you got the ice cream place, there's kids running around in there.
And Greg, you're right, I think the first poll, you might get away with not moving, he might get away with not moving it, that's, I look at it every day and I'm like, it is pretty wide there, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Just push the curb back a little bit.
Yeah,
was
that's all you gotta
we
do, just
Yeah.
push it back and straighten it and, you
They'll
know.
they'll merge, they do it now, I mean, they did it before, it shouldn't really be a problem.
I think we need to, you know, as a council, start really thinking about Deal Road at some point. It's really, West Park, there's no way to widen that at all, but Deal has the potential of adding, you know, down, you know, and this is a long-range project. It's not like it's gonna happen tomorrow, but it's something that we really need to consider to push the traffic flow out onto 35 going east and even going west now, it's backed up, so.
Well, I think one thing in kind of in tune with that is, right now is the time we gotta get the planning board on tune with that, because with that application coming at the corner, we need to
that
get
it?
the right of way. We need the right of way. We don't need the improvement, but we need the right of way, because that's the only thing, once we get past the, I forget what that's, it's not a Cumberland Farms, whatever the new thing that used to be the 7-Eleven. And once you get past that, the right of way is big enough, and
Yep.
we can easily get land all the way to Whale Pond
Yeah.
to make that work. It's just the corner there, and he's the first piece of two.
Yep.
So,
So I think that, you know, something we really need to start thinking about, you know, as we move forward, because it's only gonna get more congested as time goes on, because there's more, not so much Ocean Township, it's the surrounding areas with Netflix coming in, I'm sure there's gonna be a ton more traffic. So, Kelly, you got anything for Greg?
Nope.
okay.
No, we already talked about the,
One
my
other
wish list for
thing-
DOT.
Yeah.
One other thing that was brought up, just so everybody's on the same page here, the dog park. It is open, but there's no signage. The fountain's not there, and there's a couple of cactus that need to be moved inside. It's open, they can go there. We're not gonna do a ribbon cutting. The county does not want any ribbon cutting until it's complete with the signage and the cactuses are moved. So, once we get word from the county that all that's completed, then we'll schedule that. But it is open. Thanks, Greg, appreciate the update.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Greg.
Yep. Dave,
Few items. Bad news is 2025 state health benefit plan. Initial renewal announcement came out. The initial increase recommendation calls for 17.2% increase of rates. So guarantee that the administration is looking other options, which could include a HIF, which is similar to a JIF. It's a health insurance fund.
Now, are we
So-
required, is that the one that we're required to go with? Or can we independently shop
We
those
can
rates?
independently shop, and that's what we're doing. We did
Equal
that
to
last
or better.
time, and because of our claims situation, it didn't really make a difference if
Okay.
we stayed or left, so we're doing the same process
Same thing?
again.
Okay.
So our brokers run
Dave,
all
is
the
our
numbers.
claim over 100? Are we over 100 on the claims? We're not below 98, 96, right, on claims?
Oh, I'm not sure off the top.
That's the key indicator to see if we can even shop
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, but that's what they're doing now, and so we can become self-insured and try some other insurance companies
Right.
individually or join up with one of these HIFs.
Yep, cool.
The other thing the administration is embarking on for Cindy Lane property, you know, we've been tackling this for some time. We have ARH under contract right now. We have a final proposal for them to the tune of $120,000. This will complete the NJDEP permitting, including the NJDEP freshwater wetlands letter of interpretation, verification, freshwater statewide general permit, and hopefully this will get us to a point where we can deem that Cindy Lane site basically a landfill for the area that's under investigation and being monitored, and then we can get DEP to say, yes, it's okay for you on the buildable area to go ahead and start building and doing whatever we do in conjunction with the Board of Education.
The shared service parking?
Exactly.
Okay.
With the
And
public-
Greg's indicated that based on the property up there, it seems like we have enough space to do the whole,
Oh, yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
thing,
With-
even with
with
the
the
Board of
Board of
Ed.
Are DPW and Board of Ed, or is DPW?
No, they would all be
DPW
together.
and maintenance from Board of Ed and Public Works.
Okay.
And we have other things even with them that Dave's looking into for shared service that'll actually help the town out a bit. So, I mean, he's got a few ideas on there, so.
And then administration, we had some meetings with Topology, which is a planning firm, and they are looking into, to the tune of $10,000, They're looking at Route 35 revitalization. This was some of the things that the mayor had spoke about in his address about a year ago, that we're gonna take a look at Route 35. So in phase one, we're gonna take a physical and regulatory condition, which includes a field survey, analyze, categorize the vacant storefronts, investigate existing zoning and prior planning, and then catalog and summarize the existing data and ongoing traffic mitigation plans. Phase two will be more of a market reconnaissance, where they're gonna interview with the local investors and brokers, which is the property owners. Interviews with Fort Monmouth, Netflix, property specific outreach, Route 35 preliminary public survey questions, and then any high-level case studies that they run into. Then phase three will be another market recon, which will establish corridor-wide goals. So this will be like the end product that we'll receive, identify priority sites and recommendations, and then incremental implementation plan. So that all starts probably within the next week or so, as soon as the purchase order is cut from finance, and we'll get that going. And I have one item for closed session.
Thank you, Dave. E-bike scooters ordinance, what's the update on that, or were we?
Did everyone read what I
That's
sent?
up to this body.
I sent out along with that memo.
I didn't see the attachment after that. There was something else? I saw the,
It was an ordinance, not today, but the other day when I sent the agenda.
okay.
It was the ordinance. The new one from,
That was modified, right? The 14
Yes,
years
yes.
and under.
Oh, that's the one we discussed in, got it.
yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Rob and I are experts in the subject.
Yeah, that's why I overlooked it. Not why I overlooked it, but okay. Yeah, we're in favor. I'm in
Okay.
favor. I'll speak for myself.
So we'll introduce it next meeting?
Okay,
Is that good?
if, I straw poll it before we put it back up again.
I know.
in court.
Well, I do believe Ed is here to make some comments, but he'll do that on the, whenever you want him to make
Yeah,
comment.
I want to give John
Yeah.
some, I just want to give him a couple minutes, but if we're all in agreement, Ed, I'll let you speak after I have John go, but right now,
Oh, you got
if
it.
we're in agreement, we'll put it on. Ed, we'll listen to you after, and then, you know, we may pivot, I don't know. We'll hear what you have to say. Let me go around the horn, and then I want to have John DeCarlo speak in regard to Lewis Street. So, Rob, anything?
I'll yield so we can hear them.
Okay. Anything?
Okay.
That's fine.
Anything?
We can,
Anything?
I have two questions
Yes,
just
ma'am.
on, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
trying
this
to
is
do
good, I'm
better
glad.
than you.
You're doing a good job, Bill. I do have to say.
The resolution for tonight, with the Cranford shared agreement, what types of products and services are we looking to partner with them
They're
on?
famous for their police products. The police cars usually come out of there.
Okay.
And they have other items, but that's their primary for police vehicles and equipment.
Okay, and then the ordinance, there was striking of the criminal background checks. Was that just semantics? Is that all that really?
We added a section, and because of the way something was titled, I had to strike out the specific to
But it's
allow for
still
the
full background checks on anybody working with children in this department, in this town?
Yes, that part hasn't changed, but I had to just, because now I put a second section, so I
Okay.
didn't limit the introduction.
Those
I
were
didn't
my-
limit the title.
Two questions. I wanted to throw something out to the council. And again, I know it's not budgeted for right now, so this is an unfunded requirement that I would like to throw out there, and I spoke to Dave briefly about it. Either a public information officer or public affairs office, whether it's a new hire or other duty as assigned, but I really would like to see some type of control on media outlets and the chaos that goes on. So I would like somebody that has a responsibility to respond to inquiries and complaints and stuff from the town. And I think that falls into Dave's lane, but not maybe to Dave personally. So I'd like to throw that out for consideration in the future. I did talk to Greg extensively. I have some wish lists that he would need to discuss with the Department of Transportation as it pertains to the beautification effort, those stupid barricades that I can't stand, going in for a supplemental grant. He told me that we did get a grant at one time for sidewalks on 35s about 6 years ago, so I would like to see another one to continue that effort on the eastbound as well as westbound sides.
We do have a better connection with the DOT now than we did So we can make a call or two. And he actually lives in Freehold, the DOT commissioner. So well, I think maybe.
I mean, with all the pedestrian traffic and
Right.
stuff, I'd like to see some more sidewalks up and down
And I think
35.
we, look, and with what Dave just presented with doing a study on 35,
Yeah, it might be part of that.
I keep saying we have to really prepare for this Netflix coming in. We're gonna be affected. Highway 35 will be affected, and people are gonna look for places to go and spend money. So, I mean, we really wanna be poised in a good position. You know, Ocean Township is a very nice community, and we'd like to, you know, obviously people have businesses and we wanna see them flourish.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, Kelly, you got some good ideas there.
And the last thing was, I feel like we owe some type of public statement on the deer management status. So if we're allowed and the council agrees, I'd like to put something out. I know no matter what happens, it's gonna be really costly. You know, the sterilization, I think the $1,300 number was thrown around per deer.
Per year.
Huh?
Per year.
Per deer per year? Awesome. I know there was a little bit of pushback from the police department on the hunt option.
From the
So-
prosecutor's office.
Yeah, so I think I think we need to put something out on what we're trying to do, because I know the state, we put our paperwork together and all that, but I've been here 22 months and we're still talking about the deer. I just want people to understand why we're still talking about the deer and that our hands are kind of tied at this
Dave,
point.
can we get something together, preferably prior to the next council meeting, so that we can review what the statement is, or, you know, where we stand? I know you and I had a discussion yesterday, and it's frustrating because we want to make a move, but every time we come up with an idea, our hands get tied by somebody else, and it's ridiculous, and it's just getting worse. But as you stated to me, and I'll put this on the record, it's very difficult for one municipality, because the deer don't just live in Ocean. They don't just say, yeah, I'm going to stay here. I mean, they jump somewhere else. It doesn't matter. I mean, we may have to get the mayors together with the county and come up with some sort of plan here that surround this area, because you know, I think Ocean's really, you know, it seems like we're getting bombarded with these, you know, with the deer, and it's, you know, they're all getting pushed here. So Dave, if we can work on something for the next meeting, that would be great.
We'll have a statement ready next week for review.
Great, thank you, Dave.
That's all I had.
I did want to throw out there that Saddle River just made an agreement with United Bow Hunters for a hunt in Saddle River. So that was in the news this week. So feel free to Google that.
I think that was the only, Dave, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that really one of the only options we had as it comes to the deer management?
I mean, bow versus.
Bow versus,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one
Oh,
we had
shoot.
discussed.
Yeah. So feel free to Google that article.
yeah, I know, it's tough. All right, let me, I know there's several people here for Lewis Street ordinance that is only being introduced tonight. It's not being voted on. We introduce an ordinance, and then we vote on it the next month. That's where there's actually public comment. But out of respect to John DiCarlo, and, you know, I've known John, you know, since he had my kids, you know, over at Dow Avenue, John and I spoke at length, and John's gonna speak for the group. Told him 5-10 minutes just to express his concern before we, you know, actually have this issue come forth, this ordinance. So John, I'm gonna give you the floor. You know, like I said, if you can keep it, you know, 5-10 minutes, that'd be great.
You said a half hour.
Go for it. You're done teaching, man.
Oh, excuse me.
Like some water?
No, I'm okay, thank you.
Just in case.
Just in case, thank you. First of all, I'm impressed with this. I've never been to a council meeting or anything related to this. It's big business.
It's a big company.
Yes, I know most of the people here, but I'm John DiCarlo. I live at 222 Lewis Street with my wife Robin, and I had all kinds of formal things to read and talk about, but I'll try to keep it informal like this is. I taught for 44 years in Ocean Township, loved every minute of it. My wife taught for 36 years in Ocean Township. We both miss it. We both miss the kids. we love living in Ocean Township. I started out in 1971 at Monmouth School. I taught that man over there.
True story.
Excuse me. And he made me feel good tonight, I have to say. And thank you. I love Ocean Township. I had no knowledge of Ocean Township. It was one of the 2 jobs I was offered. I wanted to go to the high school, but I was offered elementary school to teach health education. I figured I'd last a year at the elementary level and move up to the high school. 44 years later, teaching elementary health education, I wouldn't have had it any other way. They taught me more than I taught them, and I mean that. And about diversity especially. As a matter of fact, I mentioned tonight, at one point at Dow Avenue, I had taught 90 children's parents, including Casey and her children. So I love Ocean Township. I want to die where I live. I'm 75 years old, my wife is 70, and we love Lewis Street. And we consider that there's been a lot of change in Ocean Township, including Lewis Street. And my attitude is, you go with the change. It depends on your attitude. Not everybody on Lewis Street has that attitude, I might add. And regarding emergency vehicles, believe me, they fit down that street because my neighbor called 911 when I had a fire pit. And some of my former students came up my driveway, and I don't know how long these fire trucks are, but it was right in front of my house. Very inappropriate, but it fits. I had called Sergeant Martinez about a year and a half ago regarding the intersections, because at the intersection of Lewis Street and Roosevelt, the cars parked all the way up to the stop sign, literally up to the stop sign, and one car fits. And if a car's coming one way and you're going the other way, it's like a stalemate right there, and it's dangerous. Same thing at the end of Wells and Monmouth Road. So I called her, she said she'd take care of it. I called her again 6 months later, said the same thing. All we're asking for is enforcement at that stop sign, because if you can move over in front of that stop sign, it becomes less dangerous. Again, it's attitude. Things have changed on Lewis Street, just like Ocean Township, all of Ocean Township. And houses have been knocked down. This man's house was knocked down. And one of the things I've learned about change is that you make new friends, like my friend Morris here, who lives right across the street from me. And regarding this is how friendly we are. He said, don't worry about it, you can park in my driveway. And I appreciate that, but that's not the solution for Lewis Street in general. That might help me a little bit. But let me tell you what's in store with this proposal, which is one side street parking on Lewis Street. Morris has found out if it goes through that there are how many spaces available?
Between 8 and 10 after you take into account driveways, stop sign, which has a 50-foot setback, as well as the new proposed stop sign in the corner of Wells, which has a hydrant, which creates another 30 feet of setback. So
Yeah.
that side of the street will get 8 to 10 spaces at most. Legally, town's ordinance should be 18 for a parking space, 18 feet. That would cover probably 0 cars, because this span of 18 only covers 1 car on a space. So it really would become a hardship for the residents that are there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Change, again, I've learned in my life that change, you have to adjust to it. Your attitude should be that it's important to accept, and then move on with your life. I had a dumpster in front of Morris's house for a year,
Maybe more.
maybe more. And I didn't like it, but it is what it is. It's gone now. That's problem solved. I had across the street one of the 8 pools that is in Ocean Township on Lewis Street alone. And in building that pool, a cement truck backed right into my truck. That was a change I wasn't happy with, but it was reconciled. Morris had some pavers installed. The contractor didn't use a wet saw. All of the vehicles were full of dust. That was resolved though. That's a change I had to adjust to, but it was resolved. Here's the problem though. My attitude upon learning, I called Martinez 3-4 days ago, I think it was, and I said, I hope I'm not being a pain in the neck, but I'm trying to remind you of the intersections. And she said, well, I think it's gonna be resolved because you're gonna be voting tonight, she said, on an ordinance that would provide one side of the street parking. I was like amazed that she said this to me. So I was misinformed. I was led to believe that tonight would be voted. So I called the mayor, and to his credit, wow, it's amazing that you answer the phone. It's great. And
Something I learned a while ago.
Oh, really?
John, can I ask you a question? Are a lot of people going down Lewis Street and cutting to Wells or coming from Wells, so it's become a cut through?
That's one thing I was going to address this evening.
Yep.
It's amazing how fast they go, including school buses. That I have called Chimantov, I believe that's how I pronounce it. And they go, I'm not exaggerating, I don't have radar, but they can probably be clocked at about 40 miles an hour going down Lewis Street.
And, okay, sorry.
I'm not exaggerating.
No. And that, just to answer your question, that was why the second ordinance is on there, to put the stop sign at the corner of Lewis and Wells.
Yeah.
So they can't do that.
So there's no stop sign on Lewis and Wells right now?
Yeah, but
That's the other one.
Dave, it doesn't matter. Once you get a head start going, there's people that are driving down my street constantly exceeding the speed limit.
Gotcha.
And that's something I don't want to have to adjust to.
So John, to cut to the chase, what are, options that you want?
Well, if you don't mind, there's some considerations that you need to make regarding this and how, right now, this young man here, the police were called on him because he parked in front of their house. This is before this ordinance goes into effect. I have a next door neighbor who calls the police, and maybe you might be familiar with this,
She calls on both of us every week.
The garbage guy too?
just because people park in front of her house. And and again, the street's the street. You're allowed
Public
to.
street.
There is, there's conflict on our street. There have been arguments, verbal arguments that I could hear from inside of my house about parking right now without one side street only. I have across the street for the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, college students from Monmouth College. And I have found that if you welcome them to the neighborhood, they respect you more. And my wife and I do that. As a matter of fact, in about 2 weeks, I'm gonna have, I love baseball. And these are 6 kids from the baseball team from Monmouth College, gonna move in there, across the street from me.
Oh boy, next door to me.
And I'm gonna welcome them, and hopefully I'll have a catch with them. And Bob, you know I like baseball, right? Remember? Yeah. And, but where are their cars gonna be parked? 6 cars. Last time we had 6 girls and 5 cars. Where are they gonna go? There's how many spaces?
About 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
I'm looking at a map, and I'm not, so I'm looking at that. You're saying 8 to 10 from Wells to Lewis?
Wells
On the-
to
on the
Roosevelt.
east side, which
On
is
one
being
side,
proposed now.
yeah. And it's the same on the other side. There's a lot of driveways there.
The funny
John,
thing is,
big-
the west side, the other side of the street actually leaves up more room. So if anything, if you're gonna oppose it, you're doing the wrong side to begin with.
Well, interestingly enough, my contention was I like to park in front of my house, and it was brought to my attention that you'll be able to. And I said, it doesn't matter which side it is, because you're impacting me anyway, and all
Someone's
the
gonna park there,
residents,
yeah.
because I move out of that spot and somebody's gonna wanna be there. 6 college kids with cars in about 2 weeks. 2 houses are gonna be knocked down within a year on this street. Dumpsters will be in front of those homes. Construction vehicles will be up and down our street for both houses. Where are we gonna park? And I'm sure you know what that's like. Right now, we have people from Roosevelt parking on our street because they have restrictions on their road. And that takes up spots. Where are we gonna park? There are, I said, 8 pools just on Lewis Street alone. That means 8 different vehicles to clean those pools at least once a week. Where are we gonna park? I counted 5 different landscape companies that come to our street alone, and I measured one this morning. With their trailer, it's about 60 feet. And again, they take up parking spots. We're gonna have leaves in front of our houses, and we have a lot of leaves. And again, they take up more room. Again, where are we gonna park? And I mean this sincerely. Right now, we have chaos on the street. You're gonna create great chaos, because there will be neighbor against neighbor.
We don't even have I don't even have a driveway to park.
So
Like-
John, we have to get into closed session because I still want to get Ed
Yeah.
on. So again, let me just ask a couple of just options,
Options, one-way street.
okay?
Which will
And-
probably alleviate a lot of the problem.
Okay.
The complaints that you're hearing are from the cars coming back head to head, which will tell you, I'll tell you, it is very, very dangerous.
All right, so this is what we'll do, John.
And this
We'll
is from Jim Foley.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. No. Jim and I spoke. He called me as well. So this is what we'll do, Dave. Let's if you could meet with Sergeant Martinez and go over this issue with Lewis Street. We're still going to introduce it tonight because it's on the agenda. Unless you guys want to pull it for the time being, it's up. I'll straw poll the council. You want to?
Sounds like some fact-finding is
Okay.
necessary.
Yeah.
So then we won't even introduce it tonight. Okay? We in agreement?
Probably easier.
I'm good with that, good, but,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Yes to pulling the parking one, keep the other one?
Oh, the
Sign.
stop sign.
Oh, my
fine. Yeah,
God.
do that.
And might I say that if that's enforced, and let me tell you, if you have somebody between 4 and 4:30 every afternoon, you will catch a bus going down my street, going about 40.
All right, so for tonight, we will pull this from the agenda. Dave will have a conversation with Elisa, and, I can get back in touch, or, can you reach out to me in, a week or two, and then, okay?
Mr. Mayor, no, we all want to see the right resolution.
No, we'll come up with
Get
the
it
right
with you.
resolution. I'm glad we heard you out, and that's what we wanted to do. I wanted to give you guys the opportunity. I'm glad that, John was the spokesperson, and I appreciate that. And Dave's gonna do a little fact-finding for us and report back, and we'll find out,
Just
okay?
don't want to see somebody die this street.
Yes.
And before, just a point
Yes,
of
sir.
clarification, because prior to the council just pulling it, there was gonna be a vote tonight, so I just wanna let you know, Sergeant Martinez, they were gonna vote to introduce.
Oh,
When you introduce the ordinance,
Well-
then there's a second vote to actually adopt it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I didn't want you to
Yes.
leave here thinking that Sergeant Martinez.
Oh,
No, I
No.
told him, it was a
No.
vote to intro, and then,
And I have a lot of respect for her. I met with her, and she's a nice lady.
Absolutely.
We want to see something done
Mhm.
at the ends of the roads. It's very dangerous.
I have my marching orders from the council,
Thank you.
so
Thank
I'll
you.
follow up.
Thank you so much.
Tracy?
Thank you.
And you too.
Say hi to Rob.
I will.
Thank you, everyone.
Always a pleasure.
Good to see you.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
so much.
How you doing?
So they're going
No, I'm very happy to meet you.
give me a shout.
Kenny's doing great. We're gonna see him this weekend.
Mr. DeFiglia.
I will.
Yes, sir. E-bikes?
E-bikes.
Okay.
So, I'm going to be brief. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page going forward. So, I have no problem with the ordinance as it is. I think it's fine. It's all just safety regulations. My concern is this. When we redid the master plan, one of the things that we put in there was we need to redo our bike and pedestrian plan. And, how many times do we talk about traffic tonight? The e-bikes and the e-scooters are a fantastic solution to a lot of our traffic problems in town. People just running to the stores, people going to the beach, people just staying in town. We don't have to get in a car every time we want to go from point A to point B. But we don't have all the infrastructure to make it safe right now for these e-bikes. So while I'm very much in support of the safety regulations going into to be enacted, because we don't want people dying, I think we need to remember that more people are going to be relying on these modes of transportation to get to work, to get to their jobs, to get to their doctor's appointments. They're not a flash in the pan, they're not a kid's toy, they're not even the summer vacation kind of, oh, here we're just playing around. I know that everyone thinks of the scooters like they had in Asbury Park, and they were everywhere a couple years ago, but more people are using them as their main mode of transportation because cars are expensive and traffic is not great. So I just want to put it in the council's mind that one, we're going to need to do that plan, and e-bikes and e-scooters are almost definitely going to be a major piece of that.
I had sent that, it hasn't been updated since like November 2010.
Yeah.
I pulled that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
was-
sent that to Greg and Dave last week.
And that was a major point of contention as we were redoing the master plan, how we incorporated that. And the reason that the original one was not fully implemented was because it fully engineered. That was one of the planner's concerns. We need to do that, and it needs to happen because it's a major solution to the problems that we're facing. So I just want to make sure that the council is thinking beyond just the safety issue here, that these e-bikes and e-scooters are going to go into our next transportation plan. They're an environmental issue, which is really why I'm here, because they're better than any other mode of transportation out there for efficiency and low emissions. But also, it's an economic boost to the town. If we can do this right and make sure that we are incorporating them. I mean, what was the one we just had a couple weeks ago on the planning board where they were trying to cut down their parking requirements because most of their employees take the bus and ride their bikes.
Right.
That's what we want. That's great. But I want to make sure that you're thinking forward, that it's not just kids, being kids on bikes, that it is a much more serious transportation matter to be considered as we go forward.
So if I may, one quick question, so what is an example of an improvement that would help the e-bikes?
Fleshing out our bike lanes in town and having a more consistent use of them. I was talking to Dave Fisher about this the other night. On Logan, before I left, I've been out of town. Before I left, there was one of those speed monitors on Logan, northbound, at the curve. If you're coming up Logan, past Allaire and all that, and you go around right before the creek, there was a speed monitor right there in the bike lane, which means that everyone who's riding their bike northbound was going into the lane, and the cars were going around them and crossing the line on not a blind curve, but on a curve coming down. We need to think more about how we are using our existing bike infrastructure, that they're not just, oh, the roads are for cars and bikes too if they can. People are using bikes more and more as their everyday mode of transportation in town. You just drive around, you see it. So making sure that we're considering that, making sure that the bike and pedestrian plan that we come up with takes that into account, that we're not just focusing on the recreational aspect of it, that we're thinking more about the economic, the folks who are taking the bus to town and then riding a bike. Sidewalks on 35, how many people do we see walking up and down 35? So in connecting them to the transportation, like the buses, the bus stops we have in town, all of that, and that's going to go into the plan. Someone needs to think it through, way beyond my area of expertise, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
Appreciate your input. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Ed. Take care.
If no further motion to go into closed session,
So moved.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Just want to remind everybody before we start that all council meetings will be audio and videotaped. They'll be shown on the Township of Ocean's Community Cable Channel, Channel 22 on Verizon Fios, and Channel 77 on Cablevision. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Napolitani?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Fisher?
Where's Dave? Dave was here too.
Wait a minute.
Paul, he'll be in a second.
Kaplan?
See, there he is. There he is. Fisher, you here? Yeah. Good.
Kaplan? Here. Terry?
Here.
Can everyone please stand for a pledge of allegiance and remain standing as we do a silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. You may be seated. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied, and a copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster, posted in Town Hall and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 14th, 2023. There are 2 emergency exits to the wall over to the right that'll take you to the front of the building, and another one to the left that'll take you to the rear. Please make sure all your cell phones are turned off. Before we get into public comment, I'd like to go around and get council comments first. Let's start down with Deputy Mayor Dave Fisher.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to continue on my theme of the Mayor's Wellness Committee. We had Dr. Trish Tallarico speak on August 8th. Managing inflammation. It was rather well attended. And in conjunction with the Senior Services, they are having a speak on August 22nd, Mastering Your Smartphones Tech Talk. It's also sponsored by Robert Wood Johnson. So it's also been another well-received program, so that's coming up. And I do, of course, want to thank Mark Rudolph and Sharon Molesky for all their hard work. It's been great working with those guys, and I look forward to some other great things. Thanks,
Thank you.
Mayor.
Great job, as always. Councilwoman Terry.
Just a couple updates. Over the next 90 days, we have quite a few events happening. Fall Rec program started registration today. You already touched on the smartphone lesson on the 22nd. On the 29th, Deal PBA is having their fundraiser. Moving into September, the Chamber of Commerce is offering their golf outing. The library is offering a short story discussion, The Doll's House. BSA Troop 70 and the Township of Ocean are doing their e-waste recycling event on the 14th of September. Asbury Park is holding a mini golf competition fundraiser to purchase bulletproof vests for their new recruits. I think they're targeting 6. Marriott at Ocean Commons is going to have their grand opening event. Celebration is going to start at 4, ribbon cutting at 5. Fall Fest is the 28th of September with a rain date of the 29th. Moving into October, we have the Super Senior Luncheon for 85 years and older. Please register if you're interested. Township-wide garage sale, a book donation day at the library, trunk or treating on the 23rd of October. And don't forget, November, we have the Election Day, Veterans Day ceremony on the 11th. The New Jersey League of Municipalities, 19th to 21 of November. And that is all I have.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Kaplan.
I just want to say it's always a busy summer in Ocean Township, and I just want to thank our police department for everything they do to keep our town safe during these summer months.
Thank you. Councilman Achero.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Okie doke. Dave.
No report, Mayor.
Our attorney.
No report,
Matt, thank you. I just have one thing. I received a letter of commendation from one of our residents. I know him pretty well, Bill Gleason. He's from West Allenhurst, but he commended our police department, wrote a letter to Chief Sorrentino. And I just want to read the last paragraph that says, please know my gratitude to the officers on duty that night runs deep. You have so much to be proud of, knowing such fine individuals represent your department. Kindly express my gratitude to those present at the scene that night. He had an issue that happened at his house. And as always, our police department, top-notch, responded, got there quickly. So again, I can't thank them enough. They do a great job. So thank you to the officers that were on that night at the Gleason House. We are going to have public questions on resolutions and vouchers. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the Township Council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If discussion is desired on any item, the item will be considered separately. The purpose of the public portion is to solely ask questions to understand resolutions that appear on the agenda and is not an occasion for a public hearing on an ordinance. All questions not related to an item on the agenda should be asked during the public comments portion at the conclusion of the meeting. Are there any questions as it relates to the agenda? The consent agenda. Seeing here none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Napatani?
Yes. Individual action vouchers in the amount of $17,467,089.51. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Napatani?
Yes. Ordinances up for adoption. We have ordinance 2472, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 12 Traffic of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Ocean, 1965, prohibiting parking along portions of Larchwood Avenue. Someone please open public discussion on ordinance 2472.
I'd like to open public discussion on ordinance 2472.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. Anyone wishing to be heard on ordinance 2472, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing here none, do I have a motion to close public discussion on ordinance 2472?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 2472.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. Action on ordinance 2472.
I'd like to move to adopt ordinance 2472 and publish according to law.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. Ordinance 2472 passes. Ordinance 2473, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 16 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Ocean, 1965, entitled Parks and Playgrounds. Someone please open public discussion on ordinance 2473.
I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 2473.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. Anyone wishing to be heard on ordinance 2473, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Yes.
Alex Hayes, Oakhurst. I normally come to the 5 p.m. as you all know. So because this is on the agenda, that's why I'm speaking up right now. I don't quite understand how the public is supposed to know about these ordinances. If it just says coaster on the side, can you just explain that to the average layperson? There's 7 ordinances here. Can you just?
If it says
That's
wait.
where it's published.
I didn't. In which coaster? Because I've gotten the last 3 and I didn't see any
It
of
was
these.
the week after the meeting. It's usually the week after the meeting in the coaster.
After which meeting?
After it's introduced.
After it's introduced.
After.
So
when it's introduced,
in the
it's
July
published
meeting,
in the
then it's
coaster.
published.
Okay, so.
And it's also online.
I have nothing wrong with this ordinance per se. I just picked this one because it was the second one. But so if you're saying it was in July, you talked about it in July, but there's no minutes.
No. We introduce it in July. We actually adopt it in August. This is where the discussion happens.
But you might have discussed it in.
We don't discuss it until it actually comes up.
But you could have, and I wouldn't know that because there's no minutes.
But we didn't discuss it. That's why there's probably no minutes on it, because it's when you introduce it, like we had a discussion tonight, because there were residents that came in for an introduction of an ordinance earlier, and we gave them a few minutes to speak about their issues with it prior to next month, which we did as a courtesy to them because it affected their street. But other than that, there would be no discussion until the actual ordinance is voted on, like it is tonight.
So it was mentioned in the coaster. So generally, all these 7 were previously mentioned in the newspaper like a couple weeks ago.
And they were also on the website.
And you have never discussed them in any other town council meeting.
The adopted ones right now are being discussed. The introductions, they will be placed in the coaster, and then we will have the discussion next month when we adopt them.
Okay, so I am on an adoption one.
Yes.
Now. I stood up for number 2.
Yep, 2473.
So that one perceivably has been talked about before by this body.
Tonight is the night that we would discuss it.
Okay, I just find it hard to follow this when there's no date. I guess that's a public comment. It's not a question then.
Okay.
Because I don't know when it was in the coaster. All right.
And it was also when we had the meeting on July 11th.
Uh-huh.
It was also on the agenda. If you stroll down at the very end, you'll see the whole ordinance in full.
Okay.
And from the July 11th meeting when it was introduced, like all these ordinances tonight, actually every ordinance is on the website.
But I have no idea if public comment, if somebody like me, came up in the work session in July, when that was on the agenda. Joe Schmo from
You're right, when the minutes come out,
Finder
it
could
would
have
be-
spoken
yeah.
about this, but I have no idea because there's no minutes.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Hi. So when we're adopting them,
Name for the record,
Jackie Wenzel,
address.
610 Deal Road. So is there a reason that we're not able to engage in conversation when you're about to pass it, that you don't sort of brief us on it?
That's what right now is, we just opened it up for public discussion on the ordinance. That's the law.
So could you explain then what's going on with the one I would ask about, the parks and playgrounds? What is,
You mean the fees that were changed?
I had seen something in the coaster about the golf course fee going up, but I'm not sure.
These
if
are
this-
for the gym rental fees. Resident group is $55 to $165. Non-resident group $105 to $315. Township of Ocean Board of Education $20 may be applied as a credit. Non-resident Board of Education $80 to $240. So it's all right there online, right on our website.
So I guess the point of the public meetings are, I guess, to get to know better what's going on in town, and not everyone gets to read in advance because everyone has jobs other than working in the town. So I
think the
guess
point was that they published it last month to give you the month to research and come today to talk about any
they
concerns.
published it a month ago in the coaster.
Yes.
In the
But
poster,
it's
and
been
it was
up.
printed. When the agenda goes out, there are hyperlinks that take you to each particular ordinance, and you read the entire ordinance. So like the agenda's not just 4 pages; it's probably 150 pages.
So if you didn't have an opportunity to read it in advance,
In the past
126.
month, right?
So
you have a
then-
month to review it before the next board meeting.
okay. I
I
guess
mean, that's
but it just takes too long to explain now what it's about.
I just told you.
All right,
They were the
it's
gym rental
budgets.
fees.
Okay, all right,
Gym
thank
rental
you.
fees. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard on ordinance 2473?
can't connect, so I could pull it up.
Dennis Howlett, 1638 Holbrook Street. And I had to step out for a minute, so I might have missed something. Could you tell me, is this the ordinance that would address what Dr. Fisher has brought up about the park and motorized vehicles and stuff?
No.
That's completely-
No, that's
The e-bike.
yeah, that's not even introduced yet. Okay, that'll be next month. We'll introduce it, and then the following month we'll vote on it.
But at the end of the meeting, when there's public comments, I might be able to make a statement.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Could you tell me when the full agenda for this meeting was on the website?
Tuesday afternoon.
Tuesday afternoon. All 126 pages.
Mhm.
When I looked at it before Tuesday, I couldn't find anything, and on Wednesday, there was only 60 pages. When I looked at it again, it went to 126 pages. And look, I'm not complaining.
Yeah,
You
it
guys
should be
have
up
a lot of
there.
work to do, and there's an awful lot of detail on it. But for an interested citizen to sit down and listen to 126 pages of stuff a day or a day and a half before the meeting actually happens is difficult. It took me a long time to get through it, and I actually stayed awake, which is good. So, I'm making that comment. The sooner the full agenda, when it comes out and says final in it, it would behoove people in town who are interested that it got out there a little bit earlier. I understand it's hard to do, particularly with all the building and,
But for like the e-bike, right? When that gets introduced next next month, it will be in full there, and then again when it's heard. So you'll have like 2 shots at that apple, I think.
I understood, but I looked for it, and it was very difficult to find out if it was there.
Okay.
So I had to read 126 pages of stuff, most of which I care deeply about.
Thank you, Dennis. Anyone else wishing to be heard on ordinance 2473? Seeing here none, do I have a motion to close public discussion on ordinance 2473?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 2473.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. Action on ordinance 2473.
I'd like to move to adopt ordinance 2473 and publish according to law.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan? Yes. Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. Ordinance 2473 passes. Ordinance 2474, which is an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of site triangle easement over a portion of Lot 29 in Block 33 in the Township of Ocean. Someone please open public discussion on ordinance 2474.
I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 2474.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. Anyone wishing to be heard on ordinance 2474, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing here none, do I have a motion to close public discussion on ordinance 2474?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 2474.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. Action on ordinance 2474.
I'd like to move to adopt ordinance 2474 and publish according to law.
Second.
Yes. Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry? Yes. Naplatani?
Yes. Ordinance 2474 passes. Ordinance introductions. Ordinance 2475, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 16 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Ocean, 1965, entitled Parks and Playgrounds, subsection 16-5.5.1, fees associated with the indoor golf facility. Can someone please introduce ordinance 2475?
I'd like to move to introduce ordinance 2475.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. That ordinance will have its public hearing on the 12th of September. Ordinance 2476 has been pulled temporarily. We will go to ordinance 2477, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 12 Traffic of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Ocean, 1965, designating streets or parts of streets as through streets. Someone please introduce ordinance 2477.
I'd like to move to introduce ordinance 2477.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. That too will have its public hearing on September 12th. Ordinance 2478, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 11B of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Ocean, 1965, entitled Miscellaneous Administrative Provisions and Personnel Policies. Someone introduce ordinance 2478.
I'd like to move to introduce ordinance 2478.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Achara?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes. That too will have its public hearing on the 12th of September. Now we will open it up to public comment. Kindly keep your comments to less than 5 minutes. You can step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name's Dorothy Goodrich. I live at 221 Lewis Street. You pulled the ordinance
Yes.
involving Lewis Street. I'm
Yes.
assuming you had some conversation at your workshop meeting.
Yes.
I'd like to know what that conversation was about.
You had several residents that came and expressed their concern. It's only pulled until the next month when we can introduce, an ordinance that the manager is going to speak to traffic about it and find out if there's an alternative, way to do this without the alternate side of the street parking. They made a very compelling argument for Lewis Street with the fact that they wanted that the traffic made a recommendation that they would park on one side of the street.
Right, I know that the traffic made that recommendation, but I'd like to know what the arguments were against it.
They didn't think that there was enough parking, especially when you have certain houses that have rental property during the winter, when you have 6 students that might be renting in there with 6 cars.
Well,
So-
that's a very good point. The traffic on our street has increased dramatically because a lot of the people have decreased the sizes of their driveways.
Right.
So there isn't enough parking. And there are businesses operated on that street now that are rental businesses, and they don't provide enough parking. And I don't think the other residents should have to pay a penalty for the fact that people are bringing more traffic to the street, and that we're creating a situation where you never know if you're going to be driving on a one-way street, basically. Now, if there was a way for you to make Lewis Street a one-way,
That was a recommendation, and that will be looked at.
that would be okay.
Right.
But when I originally talked to the traffic department, they had said they wouldn't consider that because the end of Lewis Street is a dead end. And they were concerned about, well, there was only two houses that are there. I wouldn't have a problem, and I don't think anybody else would have a problem with them being able to drive in and out to that little portion of the street, but the traffic department seemed to think that was a major problem. So
Dave's, our manager, is going to have a discussion with traffic and see if there's an alternate.
well, the alternate would not be acceptable to not either have a one-way street or to have parking on one side. I realize people are concerned about not having parking. There are people who park their cars on the street, who live on the street, who have driveways but want to be able to park on the street. Now, it's a public street, I understand that, but people have done things to decrease the available parking. Plus, as I'm sure you know, Lewis Street and Wells are a cut through from Monmouth Road to Roosevelt. People don't obey speed limits. There's no speed limits posted. There's only a stop sign at the end of Roosevelt, and I know that you introduced the ordinance about making Wells a through street, and I'm wondering if that would end up with stop signs at the end of Lewis and Cedar to help control that, and I hope you would consider posting speed limit signs, because maybe people should know they should be going 25 miles an hour, but they don't.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. It can be very dangerous. There's walkers, there's people who ride bikes.
Ordinance 2477 is the ordinance that's going to put the stop sign up there.
Right, I understand that because I did read the ordinances and researched what a through street meant. So I do understand that, and I think that is a good move. But in the absence of being able to make Lewis Street a one-way street, I think you have to really seriously consider the fact that it may be inconvenient for people, but people they decreased the sizes of their driveways so they could have more entertainment area in the back of their houses. I don't understand. I suppose that is allowed, but that has contributed to the problem. And now we have a situation where you never know if you're going to be able to get down the street or not. And it's not just in the summer, it can be in the winter. As you know, people are renting to 4, 5, and 6, groups of 4, 5, and 6 people. And it just doesn't create a safe situation when you allow this. You have to do something. You have to do something. If you're not going to require people to have enough parking, especially if they have a rental property, I understand maybe you can't require that, but you can certainly require that people can park on one side of the street. When we drove here tonight, there were people parked right up to the edge of Roosevelt. Right up to the edge, but only on one side. And a car was coming in, and we were driving to the meeting, so we both were able to pass. So that does work in terms of traffic, to do it that way. I do understand how people won't like the fact that parking is being reduced, but I don't think that should be your only consideration.
Dave's going to have the conversation with Sergeant Martinez in regard to this situation and see what they come up with, and then it'll be online once we put it up there.
Now, is this typical for people to come to the workshop meeting to speak about this? Because I live on Lewis Street, and I was thinking of coming to the workshop meeting, but I didn't think you'd be talking about that with other people there.
They came to the work session. They had contacted the office, and we invited them to come in and speak.
Well, we live on Lewis Street too, and we were not invited. And I wrote a letter to the whole council about the problem on Lewis Street.
Anybody can come to a workshop.
I know. I'm just saying that you're getting one side of the story, and you really need to consider what's going on all over Oakhurst with traffic and parking, and suddenly, if there's an emergency, you won't be able to get a fire truck or a police car or anything down the street to help somebody.
That's the main thing right now that they're looking at is safety.
Well, that's the important thing, so I hope you will consider that.
I trust the manager will be getting the information and have the conversation with Sergeant Martinez so that we can get an answer.
When will you be introducing this ordinance, and when will the public hearing be?
I would assume next month that we're going to introduce it, because Dave is going to have the conversation with Sergeant Martinez next week.
Well, if you were to introduce it next month, would it be at the meeting of the 12th?
Yes.
Okay, because we're not going to be in the area
It's
on the
only
24th.
introduced though. We won't have a discussion
Right.
on it until the following.
Well, right, and so you would but you could pull it again.
No, I think if we put it on this time, we're gonna put it on.
So when would we be able to know if you're even going to put it on or not?
Dave, I have to wait for Dave to have the conversation.
Dave,
Brown.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll check in with him then when it gets closer to see if you're gonna be proceeding, but I really hope that you will consider something to
I'm
improve
pretty
the
sure
situation.
we're considering something.
Okay, the one-way thing would be great. I would prefer the one-way also.
Right.
And I'm all on board if all those people want that. I don't have a problem with that. That would be great because people could and Belmar has one-way streets. Lots of towns have one-way streets. I think that would be a good solution. But if you can't do the one-way, you should do parking on one side of the street because it's dangerous.
Duly noted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to be heard, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Jackie Wenzel again. I just wanted to thank you, I guess, for reconsidering the meadow construction. What really got me back involved was I got some phone calls about it, and then I started reading about it. And I just wanted to thank you for giving it more time and consideration.
Absolutely.
Sounds like we've moved away from that spot.
Right now, we have no spot at this point.
Right, good. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, Alex Hayes, Oakhurst again. Whoa, it's not attached. Okay. Sorry, I have notes kind of all over the place here. My comment earlier about like folks not knowing about what happened in some of the workshop sessions and not having proper minutes. For example, the gentleman who asked about the e-bikes, that was on the workshop agenda for today, right? It was on today's agenda. So had Mr. Fisher talked about it, I don't know, because I wasn't there normally, and yes, you can always go to any workshop meeting and ask questions. Like he was asking, what about the e-bikes? And you guys basically said, oh, well, come to the next meeting, and then we'll talk about it at the next meeting after that. When in reality, he could have said something about the e-bikes, or you might have also talked about it.
You can actually say something about the e-bikes right now because this is where public comment for anything germane to Ocean Township.
Yes, I'm aware. I'm aware of that. But my point in talking about not having minutes ready is, had there been something discussed about the e-bikes today, which by the way, my son did get one a couple weeks ago for his birthday. I'm not happy. I kept it at the 20 miles per hour because they want 35 miles per hour, and I will not have that. If somebody talked about it tonight in agenda, or even tonight me talking about it, no one's going to know what I said or what Mr. Fisher said, because we're not going to have minutes for the next meeting. They are not going to be ready. So how can somebody be prepared to come up and talk about it? And this is not a slight on Ms. Joseph at all. You need to have whoever, I don't care who it is, create minutes. You are legally required to make meeting minutes promptly available.
I have the utmost confidence in Jessie in doing the job that she's hired for, that she does. Minutes, in most cases, would not be typed up within the next day. It's just, that doesn't happen.
I disagree with you because it is in other towns.
She's getting caught up now. There's been she had backed up with not a lot of help. So I have confidence in Jessie doing the job.
I have utmost confidence in Jessie. I think she needs, or the staff, or the department needs more people because we're like 7 months behind on minutes. So how is somebody going to talk about the e-bikes next week when they didn't know what was talked about earlier? Okay, I still have a couple more other questions to ask. I do commend the pulling of the Turner Tract. I like to call it, put that idea out to pasture. Thought that was kind of creative. I was just curious, did the whole council vote to bring in the NJDEP for that dual meeting? Like who voted to have that, DEP come in? And then thank you for your Facebook post kind of tabling the meadow idea, but who votes for that? Like, did the whole council meet and say there's too much public outcry about the meadow, let's table it, or DEP is not going to have the schedule that we thought they were literally 3 weeks ago, because that was on the table 3 weeks ago. Suddenly now there's a scheduling problem. So I'm just wondering how the decision was arrived at to table it. While I commend it, it's fantastic.
There are a lot of factors that go into open space, as it's explained. If you are looking at an open piece of space that was purchased with Green Acres funding, you have to trade back and say that you won't develop a certain tract of land. For example, we own the property across from Ocean Commons. That's a treed 10 to 12 acre lot. That's the township's land. It's not purchased with Green Acres funding. That's a piece of property that could have potentially been traded for that.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
that wasn't my question. My question is, who decided to have the joint meeting with DEP?
we didn't have a meeting with the DEP.
You decided to have a meeting with the DEP.
But we didn't have the meeting with the DEP.
My question was
this week.
my question is, who decided to have the joint meeting with the DEP, and then who decided to unilaterally or arbitrarily or not decide to, hey, we're not going to deal with the meadow. We're not going to have the meadow on the timeline.
Right now, it's strictly a discussion on a project that we were advised many years ago needed to be done by the former mayor. On his way out, he even said it to us, that you as a council need to seriously consider a new town hall.
That's, I don't know, I mean, maybe I need to send an Oprah request or something about who specifically said, hi, DEP, we want to discuss, we want to have a meeting with the town and DEP.
Who initiated the fact finding? Like, is that
Yeah, it was going to be like a
that-
joint meeting, and then we put it, and you guys put it in the coaster.
Our engineer.
The engineer did.
Yes.
Okay. And then, but how did you get to decide the meadow's off the table? There was no public meeting.
Right now, based on what the engineer told us, it's off. It's right now. It's
not feasible.
It's tabled. It's not. You know, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, Green Acres space through the DEP is very difficult to trade and swap.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the engineer advised that we table it for now, and potentially look for alternative locations. This being one of them, right here. The problem with this location is, if you take the building down, you have about 2 years where all of the staff are either in trailers or in other locations.
Okay, I might have to adjust my. No offense to you, but maybe perhaps Manager Brown will be able to answer some of my questions. And thank you for replying to my email so promptly. That was actually awesome. My final question right now will also be, what other locations might you all be looking at? And I think it's a little bit. I don't know if pandering's the word. I can't think of the proper English word. To be able to say, we don't know what we're thinking of. Because if you thought of the meadow, if you had an idea for the meadow, you surely have a couple of other ideas. So I'd love to know what some of the, 2, 3, 5 other ideas are. But also, I'm a former school board member. So we did an expensive, I think it was $16,000 cost analysis just to see how much it would cost to rehab, tear down 163, or sell the whole property. So according to Mr. Brown's response to me, there hasn't even been a cost analysis yet. So while I applaud there not being a meadow, and while I don't want any of our employees, being in a basement that's floods, I don't want a $20 million new town hall. I can't afford that. So I would like to know what has been done to financially see if it's warranted and if we can pay for it. And then what are the locations?
I think the confusion is that we're really in the spitballing stage. Like, even with that property, the Meadow property, nothing was cast in stone. It's like, hey, we know that we have to do something with this. Police department's already outgrown it. We have issues with the roof and the leaking. So what could we do within Ocean Township? We did not do any benchmarking or any fact finding yet. We were in the infancy stage, but according to social media, we were getting ready to tear this building down and move.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't put it in the coaster, and I wasn't asked, so I don't know who they were speaking with. But I think his words were misconstrued. We need to find a new place. Everything, all things are going to be considered.
But
like
do we need to
renovating.
find a new place? I mean, has there been a cost-benefit analysis?
Well, we know that something has to be done, even if it's a renovation of this. What do we do with the renovation of this?
Sure.
We would have to relocate people, so that has cost.
So how do you even, like, what if it's a...
So
How do we
think-
not say it's 30 million to do this, 2 million to do this, or we...
So I think that we are the people most equipped to do this are not sitting on this council or in the or sitting in the public. We need an outside study done by a company that can come in and say this
that a
place makes
resolution?
sense. That is not a resolution.
Or a motion, I'm sorry, I meant
That
a
is
motion.
not a motion either.
A
It's
motion
just
to-
an opinion.
Okay.
What makes sense? What makes sense from the perspective of someone who's non-biased and outside of the council, the employees, the townspeople, and hopefully we can get that done. And maybe
So why don't we
can-
spend $15,000 and get a study on what's best for this town?
That's what we're doing.
Does anybody want to do a
That's
motion on
probably
that
the
tonight?
option.
I don't know.
That's what we're thinking to do.
You can't make motions?
You can make a motion, you can't make a motion spending money. It hasn't been certified by the CFO, so we don't know whether or not the money is allocated.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for now. Thanks.
Thank you.
No, it seemed like in this most current coaster that Chris Siciliano seemed to have had some idea of a good way of kind of moving people around, maybe over to the Board of Ed building and addressing
Board of Ed
this.
building?
Yeah, I thought that was the old schoolhouse.
I don't know how you would move anybody over there. They don't even have a bathroom on the main
Was-
levels.
It was the old schoolhouse, isn't that the?
I mean, seriously.
Well, anyway, that was
that
a
building's in
suggestion.
worse shape than ours.
He was just saying to do it in sections.
I didn't read the article.
Okay, it was in the coaster. But one of the things, I've been canvassing the neighborhood, looking for petitions and nomination, and one of the things as I came up and said as we were hitting the, looking at the ordinances, sometimes I know there's the earlier meeting, but maybe it would be better to combine that earlier meeting with the town meeting. When I first started coming to these meetings, this room used to be full with people. I mean, people don't come because I think they come, they hear ordinance, oh, I didn't read it in the coaster, it gets approved. There's no conversation. Like maybe even though it's posted in all those places, it might be a nice idea that one of you could take turns, read what it is, explain it at the moment you're actually adopting it. Because then if someone is in the room and didn't get to see the paper, they could make a comment. It feels very isolated in that way. You feel kind of like, oh, I don't want to say something that's not appropriate because I didn't read the article. So I just think that might be something, instead of having that earlier meeting be so rich with all this information, save that for here so these meetings could be more interesting to the public and maybe more people would turn up. I mean, what I heard over and over again was there's no transparency. Everyone feels that they don't know what's going on. And yet it is in the paper, but they don't all pick up. They might get the New York Times in the morning, not pick up the coaster. So it would be my recommendation that maybe this meeting it combines the earlier meeting. I know you need your private session, and you'd have your private session, but maybe combine that earlier one so we feel more like a town that's inclusive and everybody likes each other. There's not a us against them feeling, which sometimes that mood feels in the room. Anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I saw you get up quick that time, so nobody else jumped in front of you.
I gotta move closer to the front. It's Dennis Howlett, 1638 Holbrook Street. I have a couple kind of disjointed questions, and I'm glad that I didn't realize, one of the things I didn't realize after reading the agenda is I thought most of that stuff had to happen in this meeting and that we wouldn't get to public questions until December 17th or something like that, because there was a lot of stuff. So I'm surprised how quickly this public questions came up, and I'm gratified that it has come up so quickly. The piece of property that I think you alluded to that the Ocean Township owns across the street from the Commons, is that a buildable piece of property? Is that wetlands?
The engineer would have to look at it to see if it's wetlands or if it's buildable.
Okay.
We were always told it was buildable, that it was a piece of property that the township had in the bank in case something ever happened down the line.
So that's not known right now whether it's buildable or not?
I wouldn't know. We would have to have the engineer take a look at it.
Isn't that part of DEP about what's wetlands and what's
It,
not
it
wetlands?
depends. I know that things change from time to time. I'm not, again, not really sure where that property stands.
Okay, could somebody like me call DEP and say, is this wetlands?
I don't know, Dave, is that possible, or does it has to be studied as per what Greg told us?
It
Greg is our
depends. The
engineer, by the way.
DEP may have that in their log, so you might be able to call. But that's what the engineer is doing.
Right.
I believe it's listed as wetlands, but the engineer begged to differ that it was wetlands, and he's doing a study of it, and then he's going to report back to the mayor, council, and myself.
Okay, so that is ongoing right now.
Absolutely.
That's a really important piece of information for someone like me in this brouhaha about the trading for the meadows, because if that's already wetlands, to a certain extent, it's de facto green acres, and we'd be losing if we trade that. And I don't know why DEP would allow that.
Correct. They wouldn't allow it because they actually require you to trade value for value for value.
Right, and that makes perfect
Yep.
sense. Regarding e-bikes, I don't know exactly what we're at, and I don't know what e-bikes include. Okay, I am 100% opposed to any motorized vehicle, engine, motor, whatever you want to call it, gas, electric, in Palea Park. It's a park. We should keep it as a park completely. The only exception I can imagine for that is if somebody is disabled and has a wheelchair or something, and I think that would be a great idea. The access to Palea Park should be for everybody. I understand that. But for any motorized thing, I don't hear anybody talk about razor bikes or skates or skateboards or any of the other things that go flying through the park now. When it says e-bikes, is that just what we're talking about? Okay.
So you want the whole story? So Councilman Chair and I had a meeting with the chief, traffic, Parks and Rec, and right now, as things stand, we are going to ban e-bikes from the park. Everyone will have to wear a helmet, everyone, including children and adults. We are going to allow officer discretion when it comes to someone who is disabled or would not mind some active assistance. It's going to be officer discretion because it's a hard conversation. You know, what do you do for the guy who's like, hey, I just want to get some exercise, but I need a little, a little juice.
Yeah, I understand.
Interesting enough, one of the officers clocked some child going 60 miles an hour down Deal Road with no helmet on an e-bike, and that person was cited.
Was he on the phone too at the same time?
It's incredible how fast these things can go.
Yeah.
It's beyond, because at that point it becomes a motorized vehicle. It's essentially a moped at that point, or a motorcycle. So safety is paramount. We want everybody to be able to enjoy the park, but unfortunately this is something that we had to kind of make a concession to say, listen, we can't have people jogging down the park. You can't hear these things. Boom, you're getting tagged. We will allow the children, I believe, is it under 14, to use things with their parents, the scooters and stuff like that. But nobody's going to be ripping through that park.
What about skateboards and things like that? Because they can go along pretty good.
It's the same general rules. They're all banned from the park, but it's just little kids. Yeah, I guess they can use them with their parents, but not older kids.
Okay.
All right.
Just to be clear, so I
Clear it up.
understand the question. So motorized skateboards or manual skateboards?
Motorized skateboards. Skateboards.
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
fine.
okay,
And
got it.
razors,
Just wanted to be
that's
clear.
fine.
Okay,
But a lot of
very
these things now are motorized.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they can rip along pretty good. I'm an agile guy, but somebody coming at me at 40 miles an hour on one of the dirt paths and I didn't hear them coming, I'll have difficulty jumping over them. As
No,
they go
you won't
underneath.
hear them coming.
Yeah, you won't.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So we are in tune with this. Everybody's on board with this. So we had to make some decision. So I know there's some people that are going to be upset about this, but unfortunately we have to think about the general people and safety here.
Good. Now, does that go for the whole town or is that just the park?
It's just the park for now, and then you're still going to have to follow all the motor vehicle rules that you would normally have to follow on a bike or an e-bike.
Driving on the right side of the road, not on the sidewalk.
Not on the sidewalk.
So somebody with an e-bike that can go 40 or 50 miles an hour can use it on the street, on the highway?
I mean, the police department has the ability to. No, they can't go on the highway. You cannot be on Route 18. You can't be on the highway. You can't do anything like that. That's illegal. I mean, whether they choose to do it, that's a different story. But we have enforcement out there, so it's a new issue that's becoming a big issue. We've had 2 fatalities in town, by the way, this year, so it's a serious stuff on e-bikes. So we're not messing around here.
Okay, good, I'm glad to hear that. Is there an organization, maybe I'll call it Friends of Pelea Park?
Yes.
There is?
Yes.
And who runs that organization?
I'll text you. I got a brain freeze.
Oh,
I know who it is.
okay.
I'll give you a text. I can't think
How
of the
long,
source.
how long has this organization been around?
A couple of years?
Another brain freeze?
No, I'm going to go with a couple of years.
Okay.
That's not nice.
Let me know when the thought happens.
Yeah, I'll text you.
I'm just gonna be May. General question, does Colonial Golf Course make a profit?
Dave, what's as a golf utility? I'm not sure. We don't have the numbers on that right now.
I believe it does, but I don't quote me on that. I'd have to take a look, or you can call Mike Patrico at Recreation Department tomorrow, and he can tell you exactly.
Just out of the blue, he's gonna listen to Dennis Howell ask him a question like that?
Absolutely, that's his job.
Oh, really? Oh.
Got to respond to the residents.
There was on this agenda, there were 16 acres of land on West Park Avenue that have been donated to the town. And as I understand it, that's almost directly across from the intermediate school. And it's a heavily wooded area. Are there plans for that?
None.
Mostly
I think it's all wetlands.
Really?
Most of it's wetlands. Pretty sure. I mean, it looked like the maps came through like that.
Well, I'm surprised you could say that quickly about that piece of property. and not
Because
the one
they
across from
donated the
common.
land. So you tend to look at what they're giving you,
Oh, yeah.
and you can keep it open that
How
way.
many bodies are buried there and that sort of stuff? Okay.
Potentially.
The area behind the senior citizen housing, that I can never remember what street it is, the stuff that got nailed by
Poplar Village?
By Sandy. There's a big field there, and there's some asphalt left from the old parking and stuff like that. Are there plans for that going forward?
I don't think we can do anything with it, Dave, can we? I mean, that was purchase of Blue Acres.
Yeah.
Blue Acres funding. We
That
can't
was
do
Blue
anything.
Acres?
Yeah.
The same
Pretty
as what's
sure.
on Brookside?
I'm pretty sure we can't do anything with that property. I was back there with the engineer looking at the stream about 8 months ago because we just did some stream cleaning, and we were back there. I'd even asked about that property over there. I don't think it's usable.
Well, usable is.
I mean, we had spoken with Dave. We had spoken with Sharon from.
Oh yeah, that was the property they were looking at.
Yeah, they were looking at the property to see what they could potentially update over there, and it's limited at best over there.
That's
for
where
what
the
they can
gazebo
do.
is.
Yeah, the gazebo's
Okay,
over there.
I'm thinking about something like planting the type of trees that would mitigate some of the water problems, that type of thing. I'll say elms right off the bat.
Right.
But if that could be something dedicated to an arboretum, or something to benefit the town, get rid of the asphalt, replace some of the 2 billion trees that have been taken down in the town for,
Right.
in the last couple of years, that might be a worthwhile project, and I'd be interested in that very much.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I ran out of questions. You're welcome.
Thank you, then.
Yeah, bye.
Can I get the gentleman first?
Thank you. Roger Boyce, 514 Northwest Drive. E-bike is a very generic term. There are some e-bikes that have throttles, and some that you can only move when you pedal them. I suggest you make the ones that you pedal and are required to pedal are exempt. Because, like I have an e-bike, but unless you pedal it, it doesn't move. Many e-bikes have throttles, more like motorcycles. There's a big, big difference. Please take that into consideration.
How fast can your bike go?
20 miles an hour.
Okay.
Max. I'm pedaling at 12. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dorothy
Judy Goodrich. I have a question about the e-bikes now. Are there laws about e-bikes driving on streets? I'm not really familiar with, I see what the problem is, but I don't know what you're really allowed to do locally. Are they legal? I mean, I don't know. I guess they are. It's hard to believe that people can, you know, ride around on these things on major roads.
So generally speaking, they're just classified as bicycles that have assistance, and they have to follow the same traffic rules that a bicyclist would follow. You can be in the bike lanes. You've got to, go with the flow of traffic. What we're trying to really prevent is these things being souped up going 60 miles an hour with 2 kids on the back and no helmets.
Oh, I totally agree with you, because I would think, are there any benchmarks for when they're considered motorized vehicles?
Yeah, as soon as it goes over 35 miles an hour, then it's considered a motorized vehicle.
Oh, okay, so they're actually not allowed.
So here's what my prediction is. As a kid who had a moped back in the day, mopeds were super dangerous, and that's why you don't see them on the road anymore. Eventually, this probably will become a state issue, and then you will have to eventually go get a driver's license, and you might have to go get a license plate, and you'll have to buy insurance. And it's probably not so far in the future, but that is going to be a state issue and not a township issue.
Right, so you can't really stop it. It
Well,
has to be at the state level.
Yeah,
to
we
really...
can stop a kid going 60 miles an hour down Beale Road.
Right.
But
Yeah,
yes.
this happens time and time again, because the moped issue was, I remember that too, and this isn't that different.
And unfortunately, it's going to take kids getting potentially hurt that's going to make the changes. And I hate to say it, but that's what happened with mopeds.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a few unrelated questions that I found on my scribble. Just FYI, when I did look at the agenda earlier today, I did see 60 pages as well. I did not see 125 until about 20 minutes ago. So when I was at my office earlier today,
We'll
it was
look into that.
60 pages. Okay. And if you don't mind, I'll just kind of rattle off some questions. Dog park ribbon cutting, do we know when that has been rescheduled
Not
for?
yet. They're waiting for the signage from the county. Once the county gets the signage and gets a couple of the cactuses out of there, they said we'll do the ribbon cutting. We're waiting for them.
Do they have garbage, poop bags, and water?
I believe that there is the garbage out there. We're waiting on the fountain to be delivered so that they can install it.
Okay. I noticed on the agenda, Outback was on the agenda, so are they still coming?
Yes.
To West Park?
Yes. At least that's what we're told.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what's coming next to Target? What used to be the Kid City? Because I don't. I've looked
No
at the
idea.
construction
Dave, you know
and it
anything?
doesn't.
Well, you're not on planning. You hear anything yet? Planning?
Smoothie King is coming to the Route 66 circle. I saw the signs today. So that was a college thing. Can't believe they're still in existence. E-bikes. One other comment to that, since my son is on one right now, or driving one to football practice for the high school. I told him that at the last meeting I attended last month that you all put a temporary ban on Pelea. So he is forbidden from already going into Pelea Park. So will there be signage? Will there be education and kind of collaboration with the school district? Will there also be education, not only for the kids, but for the parents? Because you can legally buy an e-bike on Amazon that goes 40 miles per hour, but like Mr. Fisher said, by the state of New Jersey, that is considered a moped, and you're supposed to have, a license plate and all that.
Deputy Mayor, signage.
So yes, here's the question. To answer that, yes, there'll be signage all over the park. We're going to have a public relations campaign to let everybody know what the rules are, so that there's going to be a nice, easy transition into this. It's not going to be like, hey, but yes, the whole town's going to need to know about this. There'll be signage on all the entrances of the park, and we have to let these kids know that this is how it's going to be.
That's awesome.
Okay.
It's not just kids. I mean, there are some.
It's not just kids. It's anybody. But
yeah.
Like I said, there's nothing worse than having a safety issue.
Absolutely. I saw on the agenda a public health nuisance. You had to charge a resident for a problem at their house. Are you at liberty to discuss what the public health nuisance was in Wanamassa?
Grass cutting. Grass cutting.
Yeah.
So grass that's too long is considered a public health nuisance, not a like aesthetic nuisance. It's a public health nuisance. Okay. Okay, that's news to me. I think that's my 5th, so here's my 6th. I know, Mr. Mayor, you said 163 is worse than this building, 163 Monmouth. I completely agree with you. I've said on numerous occasions that building is a dump and they should get rid of it. It is not up to code, and spending any more money on that school board meeting or school board building is ridiculous. However, I do have an email from administration from this building saying that you guys are interested in discussing it. So my question is almost more to the attorney present. You have the president of the planning board for this town who sits on the Ocean Township School Board. And he's also, I believe, on the construction and facilities committee of the school board. But just being on the school board and being the president of the planning board, are you at liberty? Do you know if he is must recuse himself because he is on the president of the planning board for here in any discussions involving 163 Monmouth and the township?
I don't know what 160, which one's the school board?
School board building.
Oh, sorry, that's the school board headquarters.
That's an interesting question.
He's the
The
chair
planning
of the
board?
planning board, and then what is he with regard to the school board? And
He's on the school board and he is on the constructions and
And he's
facilities.
the chairman of the planning board.
I honestly have to look into it.
Okay, may I follow up with an email so you and I don't forget?
Yeah. You follow up with Mr. Brown.
Okay. I think that's it. Look at all this e-bike discussion we had that nobody would have known about. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.